Hey, this is Captain Paul Brawley. Welcome to another edition of Texas Fishing Tips. Today we're going to start out in the mouth of Baffin Bay. Some of the fish that were all through this area here that we were really relying on have moved into the intercoastal and on this side of all of these spoils right here. There are some black drum that are in the 17 to 24 inch range. Pretty good ones. Fill a box pretty quick with them. You get about 10 of those. You're going to be looking at about 80 pounds of whole fish. That's a pretty good box of bigger fish. So what's happening is these fish are the water's dropped some with all the northers we've had, and these fish are coming out of this flat. This is about a 4-foot flat, and what they're doing is they're using the intercoastal as their safe harbor, and they're coming up on these edges into this 2 to 3 to 4 foot water in front of these spoils, and they're using that as their feeding zone, and they're coming back into the intercoastal. So we're looking on there using dead shrimp. I've been using a 1/4 ounce jig head because it is a little bit deeper. The 3 and 4 foot of water, throwing up to the drops off of these spoils. Also, always another thing, always be careful anywhere when you're around this area because there's a lot of uncharted rocks, a lot of scattered rocks. Most GPSs show most of them, but there's always stuff in the water that you don't know about through there. So you need to really be careful and troll in, troll out off the intercoastal. Take your time, be methodical, move slowly. You're going to be looking all in front of those spoils for your larger black drum, and the tides and the winds really don't make a huge difference. It's better on a windy day, of course, all fishing is, but it's not really that. It really has to do with when they want to come up, feed, and take off back to that intercoastal. But that's kind of what we're looking for in that area right now. All right, next we're going to be looking at the tide gauge bar here in Baffin, which would be this bar right here. I kind of messed up the little drawing there, but you get the idea. What you're going to be doing is looking for, on the north days, you're going to be waiting on the outside of the bar here, and you're going to be looking for those deep grass beds. Off of those deep grass beds, you're going to be looking for speckled trout. I like using purple strawberries, any of your darker colors, down south lures, bass assassins, any of those type baits with a longer. I've been using a 5-inch purple with chartreuse bass assassin, a real flappy tail. You can use a pumpkin seed with chartreuse tail. You can use any of the down south, the strawberries, the purples. Anything he puts out is really good with a really wiggly tail. You're going to be rigging those on a 1/8 ounce jig head, and I am using a leader, probably an 18-inch fluorocarbon leader through there. If I'm using it's like a 615 or a 820 braided line, that I'm using around a 30-pound, 25 to 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, and you're going to be targeting those deeper grass beds. They're all out here off this sand. You'll be able to see them. The water's generally clear in that area, and I'm working those things, kind of throwing it out there, letting it drop, getting a pop in, reel a couple of times, pop, do a little pause. You're kind of doing a little sporadic deal. You're going to create a pattern. You'll figure out when you get your bite and kind of how you were fishing, and you're going to mimic that pattern and work your way up and down that bar in those deeper grass beds outside. You're going to be in about, butt deep water, and you're throwing out to those deeper grass beds, and you'll find some success on speckled trout through there on the tide gauge bar. But that seems to be working right now for speckled trout. All right, guys, let's look at the point right here on the wall of rocks and across this way at Pinnacow, right all through there. What I'm doing in this area is I'm staging up, and I'm throwing popping corks with shrimp. We're going to be using a number 3 Kell hook or a 1/16 ounce jig head, about 18-inch drop. And you're going to be looking for black drum, redfish, and speckled trout, all 3 off of these rocks. This outside point of the point of rocks on either side, you're going to have more trout. And when you get back in here closer to this 2 and 3 foot water in the back, down the edge of the rocks of the point of Pinnacow, you're going to be looking for a little bit more redfish and a little bit more black drum. As you're out here closer to Rivera Channel and the old sandbar, you're going to be looking more for speckled trout in that area. When you are there, you be sure off of Rivera Channel, if you're unfamiliar with the area, especially on the Pointer Rock side, that you troll in either on the intercoastal side or on the Baffin Bay side of the Pointer Rocks. There's a lot of rocks there, and you don't want to take something out of your boat. If you are over here on the Pinnacow side, which is back over here, you're going to kind of come in easy between the sandbar and the rock wall, which is really an extension of the Pointer Rocks here, this rock wall here. There is not a lot of rocks in there. It's more of a muddy, clayish bottom right in there, but you still need to, if you are unfamiliar, you definitely need to troll in and troll out of these areas, because that's a good way to take yourself out of the game and have to make a phone call to U.S. Towboat or to Sea Tow for a long ride back in. So let's be super careful in these areas. Once again, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time on Texas Fishing Tips.